Alright, now that you got it off and you got it over on your bench, what you got back here is your seal that rides on that on the spindle, and then you have your inner bearing, which is inside here. What you need to do is you need to take this seal out. You got to replace this seal. Never reuse this seal unless you're on the side of the road and you don't have another one like this. This hub and disc, if you go to Pacific Trailers, is actually the it's actually an older style. It's an older style, and and on the inside bearing, I'll write on there, but the inside bearing, or inside race and the inside seal are different than the new ones they have in there. And I ran into that problem. I bought a new one, thinking, you know, I bought two axle sets for bearings and seals, and I bought the wrong seal. And actually, the inner race in there, I'll show you, but it was the wrong race. And so, but for now, I'll show you how to get this seal and bearing out. Alright, so there's two different ways that you can get this seal out. I used to just flip it over, got two pieces of wood, suspend that in the middle, take your punch, whatever, jam it down there and beat on it. And, you know, pop everything out, make sure you don't hit the sides of the inside of the hub. And then there's if you have a seal puller, which I do, it looks like this. Looks like an ancient tomahawk, and you're not gonna be reusing the seal. So if you mess it up, it's no big deal. So you pretty much just flip that dude out. That's actually a lot easier than what I used to do. Just beat on it, and usually you ruin this bearing, so you can't repack it. So if you're going to repack your bearings and use the same bearings and it's still good, then don't sit there and start beating on it with the punch and hammer, and maybe go get a seal puller, or just, you know, make something that pop it out. It's hard to do with a screwdriver, but you can. If you have a lot of patience, you just stick that in there, put something higher here, and you just start leverage on it, and, you know, eventually it'll pop out. But some of those seals really, some of these seals are really in there, and you know, they're really hard to get out. So once you get that out, pretty much pull your bearing out. This is your rear bearing. That's the inner bearing, and then you got all this nice grease, old grease that's in there, and pretty much just clean all that out. All right, now once you get that clean, doesn't have to be perfect, but as you can see in there now. Here's your race. Right here, it's your inner race, your outer race. Now if you look at it, you can see there's a space in between there, and there's a lip on there. Now you want to be very careful when you, there's probably a tool for this, but I don't know, I've just done it the old-fashioned way with a punch and a hammer. Just be very careful. What you want to do is, whenever you're doing bearings, you always want to replace your race. That's just a good practice to have, and you know, your tolerances are going to be a little bit off if you keep using the old race. I mean, I guess you don't have to do it every time, but I don't know, I'm pretty meticulous about my stuff, so if I put a new bearing in, I put a new race in. So on that little lip there, what I usually do is I take a punch like this, drift punch. As you can see, this one here, I've grinded it down a few times, and it's not exactly level. I've done a lot of bearings and races with this for work. So what you want to do is you want to put it in there. Don't put it in there like this. You can see that. Don't put it in an angle, because then you're going to be driving in the side of the hub, and then you're going to mark up the inside and make big burrs. Then you can't get your new one in, and it's going to be just an absolute nightmare. So this part, be really careful, and you almost want to go straight down at a little angle. Another thing that can help you too is when you get this in, when you get your parts, take your races and put them in the freezer, and it'll contract them. And then I've seen them to where they'll put the races in the freezer, heat the hub up, and then you can just drop them right in, and they just go in. And then once they cool down or heat up, they're tight. And so it can help you by putting in put your races in the freezer to go to put them in. But to take them out, you pretty much look down here at the little lip that's there. What I do is I take this hand and I just kind of brace it. Okay. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you don't, I've hit myself in the knuckle a lot. And when you hit it, you want to just keep going around the edge. And when you strike it, you don't want to do one of these little taps. Hit it and drive through it. And that's what's then it won't take you as many hits to get it out. So as it goes out, the lip gets bigger, and that's where a lot of people run into trouble. As the lip gets bigger, they grab a lot more, and then they sometimes grab the edge. So, I put my hand like this, pretty much my thumb up here, my index finger around the punch. And then knock it out. Pretty much go side to side, front to back. Just keep changing it up. If you just hit one side, that thing gets cocked in there like that, and it's a nightmare to get out. All right, now that you got both of them out, you got this back, and as long as you didn't scour anything up, which is good, I'll show you how to put these back in. Pretty much what you want to do is you want to put the bevel side or the thinner side opposed to this thicker side. You want to put the bevel side out or the thicker side in. However, this is the back. The one with the numbers on it is the back. That's the way it's going to go in, like this. And same thing for the other side for the front. But what I use is I use a socket. This one here fits just on the inside of this. If you were to get the same size as this, you wouldn't be able to get your socket out, or you would, but it'd be kind of a pain. So I use this. But what I do first is I take an even larger one like this that goes over it to get it to go to sit in there at least square. Now for this, what I like to do is get it down on the wood, and I'll show you why in a second. Alright, so you got your socket here, and put your race on there. You can use a hammer like this, but I like to use a BFH and really get it down there. So you pretty much square it out. And you'll see why I use the bigger socket first. Now, you hear that. Now, when you hit real high pitch, that means you're level. And that's why the big socket, it won't drive down there, but it'll drive the race down there just to where you can get it. And now it's sitting level in there. Alright, so now you take your smaller one, and be real careful you don't get the same cockeyed in there, because then what will happen is you'll actually mark up the inside of where your bearing is sitting. There's probably people out there yelling at me like, no, don't do that. But if you go real careful, you can do this without any incident. So just go real careful, real easy. And you'll know when you hit the bottom when it gets high pitched and it changes tone like that. That's when you know you've sit on the bottom. And then you can just do is you take your finger, run on the inside, make sure it's sitting nice and flush in there. So that's pretty much how to drive the races in. As long as you get them in right. You'll get them in there wrong only once, because then you got to drive it back out. And if you put it in there wrong once, you'll probably never do it again, because it is a nightmare to try to get that out of there. You'll probably end up messing that race up, and then it just, you may even mess up your hub, and just don't put it in there wrong. So that's about it. You pump it in your hand. It's pretty messy. You got it in your hand like this, and you just take little swipes off it. Turn it, swipe it, turn it, swipe it, turn it, swipe it. I'm trying to grab all this. Swipe it, swipe it. And you'll see the grease coming. You'll see the grease coming up. New grease getting in there. Alright, so you got your packed bearings packed. All I'll do is just put a little bit of grease inside that race. Set my new bearing in there. What you want to do is you want to put the rollers and the way it bevels down like this on the inside. Alright, with this, I know there's a seal kit. I'm supposed to hammer it in there, but I got lazy. I didn't want to go get it, so I got another socket. Be very careful when you're pounding this one in. You don't want to have it too far in or have it too far out, because what will happen is that seal will not ride on the right spot on the spindle, and then you'll have grease coming out the back here, and or it'll impede the bearing as it's sitting in there, and then it's just going to wear your seal out. So pretty much you put that on there, get your socket. Big dog. If it starts riding kind of crooked on you, make sure you don't want to mess up that seal too bad. If it starts riding crooked on you, then what you do is whatever side is higher, then you hit on this on that side. So, and then what I do with this to ensure that you don't recess that down below the lip is I don't get it straight on center. What I do is I kind of go like this around the edge of it and just pound it down, and then once it gets level with the edge, your socket will stop and it won't go down any farther, and then you know your seal is level. Right there's pretty level, as you can see. It's pretty level with that edge, and that's what you want, because that's what's going to give you your best seal on your spindle. But so yeah, so you got your you got your race in there, you got your bearing, and you got your seal on the inside. And so all you got to do is put go put this on the on your spindle, and install the bearing in the bearing buddy, and we'll go do that now.